Well, that's not quite right, but whatever. Who cares? Such power. I'm going to do my school rant. So I'm a semi-traditionally educated person. I was considered intelligent in high school. I wasn't. I was the dumbest person in my friend group by a significant margin, but all of my friends were very smart, and that meant that everyone else that wasn't my friends thought that I was also smart, and they were wrong. But I graduated in the top 10% of my class. I was recognized as being distinguished with honors or whatever nonsense. It's not all nonsense, but it felt like nonsense, especially at the time, because I'm not very smart. But they were saying I was smart, and I was like, I just laughed. I don't know. So I went to a 2-year tech college, tech school, tech college that was run by the state as a public school, but I only went basically because my mom, basically she forced me to go. I had no desire to go. I had no drive to do anything with my life when I was in high school. And then my senior year of high school came, and my mom, I think, was starting to freak out. So she made me go to this school to like do a tour, and they and it was a tech college. The whole appeal to the school was supposed to be that it was all practical knowledge with some gen ed classes, and then that got you a proper full degree, an associate's degree after 2 years, right? And so that was better than going out and doing an apprenticeship, because you really need a degree. Apprenticeship or going to get a certificate from. So as a very specific example, the program that I got into at that school was basically a direct competitor to MMI. And if you don't know what MMI is, it's Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. You go there for, I don't know how long their program is, but at a specific, certain amount of time, and you get a certificate at the end of it that says, hey, you know how to work on motorcycles. Certified technician. So what they told us was that we were going to have the exact same experience, but because we were required to take general ed classes, the math, the science, there was writing, there was public speaking that we had to take. Anyway, because of all of that, however many credits, yada, 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 then we got an associate's degree, and that was going to put us ahead of everybody else, that if they just went to MMI, well, we would definitely win out over them in a job search or whatever, which sounded great, and they definitely fooled, my entire class into thinking that was of value. And I mean, if you can tell where this story is going already, that was a bunch of bull. So basically the way this worked is, went to school, you started all of your degree specific classes, in your mechanical, whatever, because I mean there were all kinds of different programs there. So, you know, we had our department, which was power sports, but there was also, you know, auto body, auto mechanics. There was heavy equipment, which actually they were basically owned by Caterpillar. Caterpillar basically owned that department, which was really cool. And again, in hindsight, that would have been one that I should have done, or I think I would have done better. But they also had heavy equipment operation. They had aviation mechanics. They had automation stuff, you know, as far as like manufacturing automation, design, and actual like mechanics. There was HVAC, and then there was a bunch of computer science and stuff. In hindsight, from what I know now, and again, this is over 10 years out from this, so in hindsight, I would have been better to pick any other one of those programs other than the one that I picked. And again, this goes back to me not having good direction or motivation in life at the time. So I went on this tour that my mom made me take, and they showed me all these different programs, aside from which I thought it was funny at the time. Even not even that long after this happened, I was like, wow, that was incredibly rude and just dumb. But the lady that gave us the tour, she like basically had a list of all the programs, and it was like going down a list of like things I might be interested in. And you know, like, yes, yeah, you know, like auto body, auto mechanics, power sports, heavy equipment mechanics, and then she saw, you know, again down the list, heavy equipment operator. Oh, you're way too smart for that, and just like brushed it aside in passing. And I thought it was funny for a couple of months, and then as I started to again get out into the world a little bit, even, which this was before I really got out into the real world, but even getting out there a little bit, I realized, I was like, that was a really dumb thing to say, and shallow and rude, and so many just negative things. It was like, that was terrible thing for her to have said. But I'll digress from that. So we did the tour of all these things, and at the end she's like, oh, well, what was the most interesting thing to you? And you know, trying to get me into a program. And I was like, oh, you know, that motorcycle thing, that seemed pretty neat. Which it did genuinely seem interesting to me, but that was what, you know, we had been taught. People my age at that time, we'd been taught to do for a career or a job was, oh, do things that you love, do what interests you, not think about what's high in demand, what's marketable, what will suit what you want out of life, rather than, oh, well, what are you interested in? Now, don't get me wrong, there has to be a level of interest in the thing that you're doing, or else you're just gonna absolutely hate it. But that, in my opinion, should be a much smaller consideration than all those other things. Being, what do you want from the job? Not what can you provide your employer? Now, there's a give and take there, of course, but you need, in my opinion, to be looking at what, you know, your job or your career that you're looking to get into. What can that get me? What can I get out of that, rather than, you know, what am I gonna do with myself? And again, I guess that's one way to look at it, but it needs to be a much deeper thought process and questions asked, again, in my opinion, than what are you interested in? But that was not how I thought about things at the time. That was not how we were taught to think about things. So I didn't know any better, and that's, you know, that I can blame it on a lot of things, but that's the reality was I didn't know any better. So I said, oh yeah,